All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Can I get at least one response, please? So I know that you guys are there. I know
Good
persons have
evening,
left.
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to hear your voices. All right. So let me first let's us first discuss. Oh, before I get to the heavier discussions. So how was the Easter holidays? How was the lockdown, quote unquote? I'm sure some persons ate and got very fat like myself. How was it for you, Georgia? Oh, Renee, go ahead and sing that you're unmuted.
Sir, my voice gone over the Easter.
Okay, all right. So don't talk. All right. Go ahead, Renee.
Sir, it was relaxing. I slept the entire Easter.
Okay.
Tired.
You
I
say
never
if
eat
I'm-
much banana cheese because I don't like banana cheese. I had it more one time.
Okay. All right. Nicole, what about you?
Sir, I got a little bit of rest, but I try to revise most of the time.
Okay. Try to revise your notes. That's good. Tony and Hyman, how about you? Miss Hyman, are you there? Not sure she's there. What about you, Miss Muirhead? Tasha Muirhead? How was your week? Or how did you spend your Easter lockdown? Let's call it Easter lockdown, because it's not as if we were allowed to do anything.
It was okay, sir.
It was okay. Did all the excitement cook and buy, eat bun and cheese and go to the beach and all of that? Miss Muirhead, you're not much of a talker. Is it that you're not much of a talker?
Sir, we could go to the beach and all that though.
You could have. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to be arrested. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I just stayed home. I did work. I watched TV and I ate. And now I'm trying to uneat, quote unquote, because I'm putting on weight, unnecessary weight. So this thing I have to be watching my weight. When I'm in Jamaica, when I'm in Canada, it's just this whole battle of being home, working from home, and you're sitting down and you're going to the food is right there, so you eat a lot, as opposed to when you're at work, you just eat lunch and then you stay hungry until you reach home most of the time. So let's first of all talk about mid-semester. When is the mid-semester? I am listening, people. When is your mid-semester?
Sir, I don't know. Tell me, please.
This was the information was given in the class, and that's why I'm asking, when is the mid-semester?
I think it's sometime next year, but I don't know at all.
I'm sure I told you a specific date. Yes, people, I'm listening. When is the mid-semester exam? So nobody knows when is the mid-semester exam, even though I told you and I said to you, write it down.
Hold on, sir. Let me try looking at the book, communication. Hey. I'm gonna find out.
All right.
Sir, tell me again, please. Let me write it down this time.
Let me check my phone, because it's either the Monday. It's not the Monday. Yes, it is It's actually today. So it is on Monday actually. All right. So it is on the 12th, Monday, April 12th. All right. So please make note of that. I put it in my phone already, so I know when the date is. You're going to do your mid-semester on Canvas. Many of you are already familiar with Canvas and you know how to do your exam on Canvas. So what will happen is that it's the same thing. So we won't have a class. All that will happen is that you go on Canvas and you do the exam. You know, it's going to have time constraints, I should say. And usually if the exam is 2 hours, I always allow you to finish it within 3 hours or something like that, or 2.5 hours. And you're able to log in only once you log in, you have 3 hours to finish the exam or something to that effect. All right, so make note of that, that your exam is on Monday, Monday coming, which is, I think I said is the 12th. And I am not writing another exam, so do not miss the exam, okay? I am not writing another exam. I don't write second exams because it's a lot of energy to write these exams. The areas of focus should be, so it's very important for you to focus on the roots of communication.
Roots?
The roots of communication, the context of communication, organizational communication, grapevine communication, as well as, let me just look, let me close this document so that I can, what's this? So I can give you, I have so many documents open. Oh no, this is not what I want. There are questions about, there's a question about, so you need to know about, remember we looked at the organizational structure and how it affects communication. And we also looked at organizational culture and how it affects business communication. So those two things will come back, not necessarily how I said it a while ago, but they will come back. So ensure that you also look at it. The exam is comprised of multiple choice as well as short answer / essay type questions. So please make note of that. Remember, we spoke about also the types of organizational structure and how the types may affect organizational communication. We also spoke about Web 3.0 and how Web 3.0 has impacted business communication. So all of those things you have to look at, all right? Those are the areas for discussion or the areas that would be assessed, that will be assessed. So pay particular attention when you are revising your notes. Please remember, do not come to me with any story about this never did work because I'm not setting another exam. Please remember, and I know students always find these, what I call these stories when they have exams. Suddenly that's when they never had any internet, the light was disconnected. I am telling you from now, I am not setting another paper. All right, especially for students who don't come to my class. Generally don't come to the class because I'm sure the class is not nice, is not 8 students. So please ensure that wherever you are, there is light and there is internet or Wi-Fi, or you need to buy data or whatever it is, because I am not setting another paper. Just remember, you were warned. I'm very serious about it. All right. And as I said before, some students, whenever they are supposed to do either an assignment or they have mid-semester or even final exam, they give you all these various stories. The Wi-Fi was down, the light went out, they were thrown off the system, and all kinds of stories. I am not into it. Those sad stories will go nowhere with me, all right? I'm just letting you know, so ensure that you are ready for your exam. I will give you, the exam will be for 2 hours, and usually what we do, we give you an extra, either half hour or hour to finish the exam. So please ensure that you have the necessary quote unquote infrastructure or access to the infrastructure to do the exam. Are there any questions about the exam, mid-semester exam? No. All right, so last class.
Sir,
yes.
1 minute. Will it be in the afternoon?
Yes, your class is, so on a Monday, I have you at 7. So I deliberately put it at 7 because I know at 5, some persons have work. So I deliberately do that with my other group too. I did the same thing. So I'm not giving, none of my 2 groups will do their exam at 5 because many will have work. So I deliberately put it at 7 where, most persons are either off work and they're kind of home or wherever. They tend to be far more relaxed. All right. So it is at 9.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
All right.
sir, excuse me, would we
Yes.
get in our class time? That's what you're saying?
Yes, so it is so in other words, there's no class on Monday. It is you're going to do your exam. So I am not going to show up. You're just going to go onto Canvas and do the exam. If you have if there are any issues, then of course we have our WhatsApp group that you can comment. Because I will log in and kind of look to see what is happening. But if there are any glitches, no, you send a notation in the WhatsApp group.
Sir, as soon as it is uploaded, can you just send a WhatsApp message?
The system will do that for you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it normally sends a notification that whatever is up on the system. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the mid-semester exam? Okay. All right. So the last class, I think, what were we discussing in the last class? Remind me now, people. What were we discussing in the last class? Remind me.
So we started looking at business documents.
Right. So I think we looked at business documents. We looked at was it the types of business documents? No, I think we looked at the types. We looked at writing in the workplace and why it is important. And I think we ended looking at the groups of business, the broad groups or the broad groupings of business documents. The other term that was used is genre. So we have, for example, strategic planning documents or business documents. We also have what are called, what are some of the other broad headings? We have the accounting documents. Remind me, people, what were some of the other things that was mentioned? These are coming on the exam, so let me see if you're
business report.
We have the business report, yes. Anything else?
Plans and goals.
We have what?
Business plans and goals.
Right, so that was the first one I mentioned, which is really the strategic plan. Any other type I mentioned?
Operational documents.
Operational documents, right? And that's a big area, you know, a lot of places need operation managers. It's a very, like logistics persons, operations, it's a very, very big area. All right, so we mentioned that, so yes, somebody was about to say something.
Customer service, sir.
Yes, we talked about customer service too. And we said that even under customer service, we have like documents, like customer complaints. There are certain documents that guide you in terms of, you have application forms, various things that documents that your customers will have to use, and you will have to use in your interaction with your customers, whether they be in front of you or they're using some kind of digital platform or internet-based platform. So that is true. So today, now we're going to look at types of business documents. We're going to get even more specific now. So some of the ones that we mentioned in the last class, now we're going to look at them in greater detail or in a more granular way. So let's just take a listen to this. I'm seeing, let me just check the chat first. Oh yes, persons were responding in the chat. Yes, accounting document and day-to-day report. Yes, thanks for that. All right, so let's look now at some of the various types of documents.
Sir, the video pause.
Pause, sir.
I'm not sure what happened a while ago. It seemed that the thing went out. I was asking the question about what were some of the broad categories of documents that exist in the business environment. Go ahead, people, I'm listening. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking what were some, did you see the video, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm asking what were some of the broad categories or even the specific types of documents that were mentioned?
Permanent document, banker document, human
banking, is it banker or banking documents?
from banker.
It's banking documents, not banker document, banking documents.
Banking, human resource document, sales and receipt document, purchases and payment documents, and inventory document.
Okay, so can you give me an example of inventory? Of a document that comes under inventory?
A document that come under inventory is final sales, wrong. It's an audit, like an auditor account.
All right. So Georgette is saying purchases and payment, yes. So that is very, very correct. Okay. That's one of the types of documents. We mentioned as well what was one of the other types that you mentioned, Renee?
Sales and receipts, sir.
Sales and receipts. And what comes under sales and receipts? Can you give me a specific type of sales and receipts?
Invoices.
Right, so we have invoices, right? So it's very important for us to understand documents and documentation in the business setting or in the professional world. So whether it be a private company or a public entity, all of these different types of institutions and businesses have documents, they use documents, they rely on documents, and these documents form part of their documentation, even minutes, the writing of minutes, because minutes are legal documents in and of themselves. So you can go back to see what was actually said in a meeting 3 years ago and so forth. All right, let's now look at the specific types of document. That was my intention. I'm not sure why that particular document came up. Let me see if this is the one that I want to show. Right, so this seems to be the one that I want to share with you guys. I remember I said to you guys that you're supposed to be taking notes. All right, so I'm not going to tell you when to take notes. You're supposed to be taking notes.
No matter what kind of organization you work for, you can expect that there will be some form of written communication used to communicate, record, keep track of things, or make requests. Some of the more common written communication methods and tools are covered in this section. You first begin by focusing on building awesome paragraphs. This includes choosing a good topic sentence, developing the body of your message, and a conclusion. We then turn the focus to the 5 types of documents you will most likely use in the workplace. These include 1. Emails. 2. Short reports. 3. Business letters. 4. Memos. And 5. Fax cover sheets. You'll learn about the purpose of each of these documents and get practice discerning when to use each of the various document formats. When looking at the content itself, you will still keep in mind the audience and balance that with your purpose to inform or persuade them. Near the end of the chapter, you'll learn about using the acronym FAST as a tool to stay mindful about your choices of format, how you consider your audience, as well as the style and tone of your document. Taken together, the acronym also helps you to stay on top of an important plain language writing principle. Get to the point fast. By polishing your paragraph composing skills and learning about the 5 types of documents that will suit your purpose, you should be well poised by the end of this chapter to be a fast master crafter of effective messages in workplace documents.
All right, so what are the 5 types of documents?
Hold on.
Hello? What are the 5 types of documents?
Email, short report, memo.
Sir, you hear me? Fax cover sheet, email, fax cover sheet, business letter memo, and short report.
Okay, and so thanks for that. And what acronym are we supposed to bear in mind when we think about?
Fast.
Yes, and fast means what?
Format,
A for
audience,
audience,
style,
S for style, and T for tone.
And I would add something else. I would add I would say P fast or fast P, because you also need to think about the platform, because remember we spoke now of the whole notion of Web 3.0. So persons are now also sending these kinds of correspondence via social media platforms. So these are not only for quote unquote electronic communication, but they're also using social channels to send messages. So let us say that you are sending a letter of apology to a customer on social media. How should it sound the same way as if you're sending it via email? So those are the kinds of considerations. So I would add to fast, I would add P. So either we say fast P or P fast, in that we need to think also about the platform, because now we are operating a different space, and customer and businesses are communicating, while they're communicating with their internal, there's a specific way of how they communicate with their, let's just say their staff. They also they communicate a different way, sometimes with their customers, and even with companies that let's call them partner companies. All right, or partner agencies. So let us say that the police have to work with Sisoko, or have to work with, for example, another agent of government. There's a way of how you communicate, and there are different platforms or channels that you have to choose to make it effective and reach within a particular time. Because think about their time. If I really want to reach students, like this is partly why you see sometimes I share some things in the group, because I know if I share it in the WhatsApp group, you'll get it much faster than if I send it via email. But some of you ignore that. When you see something come to all students, you just ignore it. You're like, oh Lord Jesus, I can't bother, Dex said. I open a school feed, I'm asking about now. So I prefer to share it in the WhatsApp group, because that's another way, if you want instantaneous responses. Companies are also using chatbots now to communicate with even their staff. Because if it's a very big company, let's just say it's a multinational corporation or a company that has several branches, there are times, so we might have an office in Montego Bay, we might have an office in Kingston. A chatbot, for example, can answer HR questions like, applying for leave. You can use a chatbot, it can tell you how many days you're entitled to and things like that. So you also have to think about the platform. That is very, very, very important. Now we get into the whole notion of writing business letters, and that part now becomes very, very important. So let's just listen.
Perfect words
Let's
that make your writing.
Remember now to take notes.
In this presentation, you will learn to write a variety of letters for different workplace needs. Regardless of your message, every letter you send needs to establish or maintain good rapport with the reader, protect and promote your company and your own professional image, and continue or increase business sales, relationships, opportunities, and goodwill. Business letters place a great demand on your ability to formulate and organize a suitable message for your reader. You have to identify your audience, the purpose for writing to them, and their needs in wanting to hear from you. To communicate with your audience effectively, you have to determine what to say, how to say it, and where to say it. The second and third points are just as important as the first. In fact, they may be even more crucial to the success of your letter. In the process of drafting and revising your letter, consider whether your reader will bristle or welcome at the words you use. This presentation discusses the 5 most common types of correspondence that you'll be expected to write on the job in the form of business letters. They include cover letters, inquiry letters, special interest or request letters, sales letters, and customer relation letters. Business letters can be classified as positive, neutral, or negative, depending on their message and anticipated reactions of your audience. Inquiry and special request letters are examples of neutral letters that carry neither good nor bad news. They simply inform, responding to routine correspondence. Cover, inquiry, and special interest letters introduce a document, request information about a product or service, place an order, or respond to some special action or question. Sales letters promoting a product carry positive news, according to the companies that spend millions of dollars a year preparing them. Customer relation letters can be positive, responding favorably to a request or complaint, or negative, refusing a request, saying no, critiquing poor performance, or announcing a product recall, as some examples. A cover letter accompanies a document that you send to a reader. It identifies the type of document you're sending and prepares the audience to read it. Cover letters should do the following: provide a written record that you've transmitted a document, tell readers why you're sending them the document, briefly summarize what the document contains, explain why the document is of interest to the reader, express a willingness to answer questions about the document, and thank readers for their time. Inquiry letters ask for information about a product, service, or procedure. Businesses frequently exchange such letters. As a customer, you too have the occasion to ask in a letter about a special line of products, the price, size, color, or delivery arrangements. The clearer your letter, the quicker and more helpful your answers are likely to be. Follow these 5 rules for effective inquiry letters. State exactly what information the writer wants. Indicate clearly why the writer must have the information. Keep questions short and to the point. Specify when the writer must have the information, and thank the reader. Special request letters make a special demand, not a routine inquiry. Because your busy reader is not obligated to respond to your letter, the way you present yourself and your request is critical to your success. Why should I help is a common question any reader might have. Therefore, try to anticipate and remove barriers to getting his or her help. Your aim is to convince the reader to send the information you need. Sales letters are written to persuade readers to buy a product, try a service, support a cause, or participate in some activity. A sales letter can also serve as a method of introducing yourself. Remember, sales letters aren't just about selling a product. A sales letter follows the same types of information that you would provide in a cover letter in a job application process. Much business correspondence deals explicitly with establishing and maintaining friendly working relations. Such correspondence, known as customer relation letters, sends readers good news or bad news, acceptances or refusals. Now let's review business letters in the workplace. As we saw, letters are an important part of workplace writing. Your employer will expect you to respond to and send a variety of messages. This presentation has introduced you to different types of letters that you can expect to write on the job. Regardless of the type of letter you're going to write, follow these guidelines. Always analyze your audience and their needs, determine your reason for writing, organize your information, draft your letter carefully, be clear, concise, and diplomatic, and revise your letter.
All right, so talk to me about the types of business letters. I am listening. Go ahead, people.
Cover letter, sir.
And
cover letter. Inquiry. Request, sales, and relations.
Okay, so for example, what is the nature or the purpose of business letters that fall under the broad umbrella of relations? Or can you think of an example of a type of letter, that would fall under the broad umbrella of relations, a type of business letter that would come under relations, or under sales or request, inquiry, or cover.
So a letter of acceptance for relations.
Letter of acceptance, explain that to me.
So say for example, when we were applying to Excelsior, we would have gone through the application process, and upon verifying our qualifications or so, then the school will now email us with an acceptance letter to tell us that we have been accepted.
Yes, all right, I like that example. What about, and I'm asking this generally now, can you think of any type of business letter that would fall under sales? Please mute your mics.
Yeah.
Yes, anything that would fall, any type of letter. Can you think of an example of a sales letter?
So like them have sell something and them want people to buy. Them have try to persuade.
What's the letter? I am asking for a specific example. What is the letter? How does it look? Is there a name for it? Can anybody think of anything relating to sales? Have you ever received an email from any company trying to get you to sign up for getting a new credit card, or notifying about a 50% discount and that you need to come in and buy, or you can purchase on? You have never received any of those letters?
Yes, sir. And also like product updates.
Right, exactly. So you get letters about product, so emails about product updates. So that would be an example of a sales letter. All right. Even from a school, let's just say from ECC perspective, when we send you a letter about telling you about, you know, all the advantages or the reasons for coming to ECC that were affordable, we're offering like 10% discount, or we offer scholarships or things like that. That would be an example in that instance. What about request? Can you think about any example of request? We are very silent.
So like, for example, request would be like for ECC requesting a transcript.
Yes, so it could be that a student sends a letter or an email, more than likely it's an email, for a request for their transcript. Yes, so that's an example. Now we're going to look at the parts, and this part is very important. Parts of the business letter. It's very important that you understand the various parts of the business letter.
In addition to being...
So please pay specific attention, because this is the part now that affects your coursework and even your final exam, okay? Pay close attention.
Business letters are a great way to present your message in a classic, polished style. In addition to being formal and structured, business letters are also quite versatile, as they can be used for official requests, announcements, cover letters, and more. While there are different ways to format your letter, block format is one of the most common. Block format keeps the text left justified and single-spaced, with double spaces between paragraphs and different sections. This layout keeps the letter simple and legible. The first section of a letter is the opening. As you start your letter, include your mailing address, the full date, and the recipient's name, company, and address. When you greet the recipient in the salutation, use "Dear" along with their title and last name. If you don't know the recipient's title, use their full name instead. Also add a colon to the end of your greeting. In the first paragraph of the body, introduce yourself and your main point. Following paragraphs should go into the details of your main point, while the final paragraph should restate the letter's purpose and provide a call to action if necessary. For a formal closing, use sincerely, or for something more personal, try using cordially or best regards. Whatever you choose, end your closing with a comma. For the signature, skip 4 lines after your closing and type your name, job title, and company name. If you're submitting a hard copy, sign your name in the empty space using blue or black ink. And if you're enclosing any documents or items, skip 4 lines after the signature and list them here. Knowing how to write a business letter will serve you well throughout your career. Keep on practicing, and you'll soon be communicating in a classic style.
All right, so talk to me about the format of the business letter.
Sir, it is left aligned.
Right, the block format, it uses the block format.
Yes.
And it must be left aligned. It must be single line space.
In
the program, you must keep 4 lines for when you're going to sign your signature. For formal, if it's a formal letter, you sincerely. If it's not, if it's
once it's a business letter, it has to be formal. All business letters are formal.
So, that's a choice.
Anything else, people? Anybody else wants to add anything?
I had what you said. Before you skip the 4 lines after closing, so you can use best regards or sincerely. Then
yes.
4 lines for the signature if you're sending it hard copy, and you skip 4 lines if you're sending any attachment.
Okay. All right. So again, it is very important for us to understand the quote unquote protocols of a business letter. One of the things that you should, so they recommended or they recommend using the colon. We don't use a colon in Jamaica, we use a comma. Another thing too, we usually put the person's name, but we also put their title. So if it's Robin Clark, you say your next line, Dean of Marketing and Communications, then you put the name of the company. We usually do that. So you might say Mr. Robin Clark. And so there's an entire protocol, and this is another thing that should be taught in the course, that hopefully when they revise it, they'll include it, that there are certain protocols involved in writing, and even in a business meeting, or how you address people, who comes first, who comes second. So there are certain protocols governing writing, and there are certain protocols governing how even these kinds of documents are treated in the business space. Persons who have access to, for example, the letterhead, who can use the letterhead, who gets permission to use it, who has access to it, where is it stored, who has the CEO's signature, how do we use the signature of the CEO? Is there a digital signature? Because now we're talking about Web 3.0, where digital signatures are needed, for example, from various persons on checks and things like that. So there are so many different things that are involved in this whole process. So it's very important that you understand the parts of the business letter, because it's part of the protocol of professional communication. And there's a demonstration here about the using Microsoft Word to, let me see, somebody said something in the chat. Okay. For using Microsoft Word and how
you can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. You could be here completing the application, or here uploading your.
Hi there, my name is Dan, and this is a free clip from my larger Microsoft Word training course. Check out the link in the description, or go to bringyourownlaptop.com for more. Hi there, in the next couple of videos we're going to be building this formal business letter here in Microsoft Word 2016. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so first things first, let's open up Word. Okay, I'm using Windows 10. okay, and Microsoft 2016. To open it up, click on the little Windows icon. I find it's just easier where it says the bottom, it says ask me anything. I'm going to click Word. There he is there. Open them up. Great. This is our initial screen. You can start with a blank document, which is what we're going to do in this video. But what you can do if you want to maybe save some time, okay, and work from a template. Up the top here, there's search for templates. You can put in, say, letterhead, hit return. You need to be connected to the net because there are lots of stuff that it downloads from the net while it's working. Okay, so some sort of internet connection is helpful. You can see I put in letterhead and I've got a few options. There's not a huge amount. So when it comes to picking a template, often you got to kind of play with the words that you use. Okay, so instead of letterhead, if you just put in letter, you get a big difference in terms of the results. Can you see? This might be more what you're looking for, and this is what we're going to be kind of aiming towards for us. So have a look through this. This might be, you know, you might find something in here and you're like, job done. Skip this whole series of videos and just start working from these letterheads here. Okay, I find these templates a little bit tough because there's lots of automated bits in them. So if you're new, yeah, you might find them not as helpful as they kind of appear to be. Now, even if you don't use these templates because there's kind of bits of automation in them, I find the language in them is really useful. Okay, if you need to, I don't know, this one here, a letter confirming lost credit card. Okay, you need to have that pre-written. Go in there, grab the text out of it, and use it for your own stuff. There's some useful stuff, and then there's some less than useful stuff. Like this one here. It's not less than useful. Employee termination letter due to poor performance. It's kind of scripted and written, and yeah, there's some good ones, and there's some interesting ones. But anyway, we're not going to start with templates. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the word home, okay, and we're going to start with a blank document. So the first thing we do with any document is give it a save. You can see up the top left-hand corner, there's this little old diskette thing. Click save, okay, and where we're going to stick it, it's up to you where yours is going to go. Probably the most common is if you click on browse, and if you go to your documents on the left, okay, I'm going to make a new folder in here to put all my files. Don't just dump them in here. You can, of course, but at the top here it says new folder. Okay, if you're using an older version of Windows, sometimes you can right click and go to new folder. Okay, they're all slightly different. So with this new folder here, actually I'm going to rename it. So I'll right click it, go to rename, and this is going to be my Word class files. And we're going to put everything today into that folder. Okay, when you've made a new folder and you hit save now, it's actually not going to go inside of it until you click on it. Watch this, double click, and now I'm inside my documents, which is inside Word class files. I'm going to give this one a name. Now, when it comes to naming conventions, okay, you can give it anything you like. So in my case, I'm going to call it Bring Your Own Laptop. It's going to be the company, and this one's going to be a credit letter that we're writing. Okay, and at the end of these things, often you can add a V1, V2, V3, okay, for any adjustments you make, okay, or comments that come back. Never call it final. Final is the kiss of death. If you call it final, you'll have final 2, final revisited, okay, just a V1, V2 works great. Let's click save. All right, so that's the super easy stuff out of the way. Let's move on to the next video. How'd you find that video? Was it good? Was it bad? If you liked it, go check out more.
All right, so I know you might say, sir, is introducing me to something that is rather simple, but what I wanted you to get from that was that there are certain, if you have Microsoft Word 2016, you can just go in and you get the templates. And that's another thing that companies are now using, and even admin persons who are trained as admin support.
Excuse me, sir. I did not hear that part. So if we have Word 2016, we just can type in block format business data and we get a template?
Yes, you can get a template.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Okay, thanks.
Yes, even for PowerPoint presentation, most of them, they kind of suggest to you some of these things, because what is happening now, and this is why I keep saying to you that the course outline itself needs some amount of updating, because some of the things that were humans that needed human execution, they are no longer being executed by humans because the systems are being designed in such a way where for many companies, these are low-hanging fruit. So they just buy a system where these things can be done very quickly. Have somebody, all the person would do is just to tweak, you know, the language here and there and present it. So that's part of what is happening. Yeah, so it's very important too that you understand how to use Microsoft Word, whether it be Microsoft Word 2016 or something that is much later, because many companies also want to know that you're able to do that. I think I have the version 2. I think that was version 1. Right, so here is the one now that, and you're going to actually do it so please make notes of the steps, because you're going to then ask to do somewhat of a business letter using the various steps. So watch this for me, please.
In this video, we're going to learn how to properly set up business letters using Microsoft Word. Before you begin typing the letter, there's a few changes that you'll want to make to your document. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change our top margin. Right now it's set at 1 inch, and we want to change that to 2 inches. So to do that, we're going to go to Page Layout, and we're going to click on Margins. And since we only want to change one of the margins, we're going to come all the way down to the bottom and click on Custom Margins. The only change we need to make here would be to change that top to a 2, and you can just simply type that in. It's a lot faster than using the arrow keys to move that. And then you can just simply press OK, and notice that my cursor jumped down here, so now I have a 2-inch top margin. The next change that we want to make is we want to go ahead and change our font style, size, and some spacing options. So before you make any changes, we're going to select all of our text. Even though there's nothing written, you want to select everything. So you want to hold down the Control key and press A, and notice that that starts to highlight on the page. When you have that done, on the Home tab, we're going to change our font style first. Appropriate font styles for a business letter would be Arial or Times New Roman. So for this one, I'm going to type it in Times New Roman. Make sure your Control A feature is still on and everything is still highlighted, and we're going to go ahead and change our font size to 12. And you always just leave that on the typical black ink. Alright, before we get our Control A feature off of there, we want to go ahead and make one more change to our document. For this change, we're going to go to Page Layout, and you're going to look in this middle section for spacing. And right here where it says spacing after 8 point, we want to press the down arrow twice to take that to 0 point. Okay, so once those changes are made, you're actually ready to go ahead and start typing your letter. The first part of a business letter is the return address. This is the address of the person that is sending the letter. So if I'm going to be the author of this letter, this would be my address. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the address. And yes, this is a made-up address. And notice there's no name or anything there, it's just the address. And then I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to type in the day that I'm sending the letter. So we'll do October 1st. And with your cursor still blinking after the year, I'm going to do a quadruple space or press enter 4 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm ready to type the inside address, or the address that comes on the inside of the letter. This will be the address of the recipient or the receiver of the letter. So who are we writing this letter to? And then you're going to include their address as well. With your cursor blinking after the zip code, we're going to do a double space. 1, 2. 2 enters. Here is where you're going to include your salutation. For the salutation, you want to always have Dear, and then the title of the person that you're sending it to, so that's going to be Mr., Ms., Doctor, whatever it is, so we're going to have Ms., and then the last name. So the last name of the person I'm sending this letter to is Chestnut. Don't worry about a comma, colon, semicolon, or any kind of punctuation after the salutation. You can just leave that blank. We're going to do another double space here, or press enter twice. And then we're ready to begin typing our paragraphs. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste in some paragraphs that I had typed earlier. And I'm just going to go ahead and format these to have the same font, same size, and we're going to make sure that we have that spacing after at 0. Okay, a couple things about paragraphs. You do not indent your paragraphs in a business letter. Everything is left aligned, so that means that we type letters in what we call block format, meaning everything is nice and lined up over here on this left-hand margin. In between paragraphs, you'll have a double space, so you can see where the paragraphs are separated by that double space there. Once you're done typing your paragraphs, you're going to do a double space again. And then this is where you'll include your closing. So the most common form of, or most common closing is going to be sincerely. You do include a comma after the closing. Please note the spelling of sincerely and make sure that you're always spelling it right. With your cursor still blinking after the comma, we're going to include a quadruple space. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 enters. Then this is where you'll include or type the name of the person that is sending the letter. So if I'm sending this letter, I would put my name. If they give you a title for the person that you're writing the letter for, then you would put that here. So I could put AMS teacher. That would be my title. And at this point, my letter is pretty much typed. There's a couple things I want to point out. We left a quadruple space here in between the closing and the signature block, so that when I print this letter out, I've got this whole space right here for me to come back in and sign and actually print my signature with a pen. You should never try to type your name and then change it to a cursive font. You always need to actually print the letter out and sign it yourself. And that's pretty much a business letter setup. So let's just look at a print preview of this. You can see everything is nice and lined up on the left-hand side. That's block format. You've got two places where you have quadruple spaces. That's after the date and after the closing. And then everything else is basically just a double space in between. So it kind of just breaks everything up nice and neatly. That's how you'll format business letters. We'll be typing several business letters in class. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
All right, so talk to me about some of the conventions. I am listening. Everybody's so silent. Yes, people, what are some of the protocols
The letter
involved?
must be left aligned. Before you start, you must go to the page layout and make sure the margins are what is being required. The front must be Arial or Times New Roman 12, zero spacing. You must type your address first, then first space, then the person or the recipient, the person who is receiving the email, the name, their address, the salutation, their whatever, then the body of the documents. Every paragraph must be double space after every paragraph. And then you have two space for like your sincerely. And the document, and after the hard copy must be signed.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, everybody, you need to write this. I'm going to put you in groups of 3, and you are going to write a business letter to Excelsior. Okay. Are you ready? So I'm going to put you in groups of 3, but you have to write the instructions first. Tell me if you're ready.
Ready.
Okay. In a bid to quell student complains about the releasing of semester 1 exam grades. So in a bid to quell student complaints about the releasing of exam grades in semester 1, comma, the Vice Principal of Academic Affairs, Dr. Zaria Malcolm Walker, we have that?
Student what?
Dr. Zaria Malcolm Walker has sent an advisory letter to all students explaining the reasons for the delay and also promising a release of grades by Friday of the following week. Do you have that, people?
Yes, sir.
All right, so just reread it for me, please.
In a bid to quell students' complaints about the releasing of Semester 1 exam grades, the Vice Principal of Academic Affairs, Dr. Zaria Malcolm Walker, has sent an advisory letter to all students explaining the reason for the delay and also promising a release of grades by Friday of the following week.
Thank you. Full stop. You have received this advisory letter, but remain unsatisfied with the explanation and decide to write a letter to this vice principal we have that? I'm kind of making it up, so. What was the last thing I said?
You have received
to the vice principal.
Go ahead, Miss White.
You have the last thing to the vice principal.
No, read the sentence. The sentence with the second sentence.
Have received the advisory letter, but unsatisfied and decide to write to the vice principal.
Right. About the implications of a Friday deadline for you. The negative implications of a Friday deadline for you. And you can say these implications could include realizing that you failed a course and no, and you don't have the prerequisite for the courses that you're doing now, delay in terms of giving your, handing over your transcript to a funding, to someone or an organization that is funding your company, things like that. So I just want you to play around with the idea. I'm going to put you in groups of 4, not 3. One group will be, let me see if I do it by 3, how it works out. Groups of, so 3 groups, let's see. 1, 2, 3, no, let me do 4 groups. All right, so I'm going to do 4 groups. I think 4 groups is actually recreate. Okay. All right, so I posted the link in the chat so that you can somewhat follow the format. So I want to see the first thing I'm looking at is the format, so that the format is correct, and then I look at the content. I'm more interested in the format for now, and also there's the remember we mentioned earlier about the tone of the letter, because you're now writing to the vice principal, so the tone of the letter has to also be taken into consideration, as well as the style. In other words, the kinds of sentencing and vocabulary and words that are deliberately used by you as the author of the letter. Okay? Does everybody understand what I'm asking you to do? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
I didn't hear what you said.
So I'm saying the last part of what I said is that you also have to be mindful about the tone of the letter, because remember, you're writing to the vice principal of an institution, and it is a business letter. And also the style is really the overall feel and flow of the letter in terms of coherence and cohesion. Are you using contractions or you're not using contractions, things like that. So style and tone kind of go hand in hand, okay? I'm going to open the breakout room, and I'm going to give you about 15 to 20 minutes because I want to see the actual letter, and you have to share it. And we'll look at you're going to share it. One person in the group must be able to share. And we're going to go through the style and the tone and all of that to see if it is actually, it takes into consideration all the protocols that should have been observed. I'm going to put Tony on in room 4. Yes. All right, so please go into the breakout room. You have 15 to 20 minutes to complete the letter. So by 6:30, at 6:30, I'm going to close the breakout room so that you can start presenting, all right? Miss Daly, which room were you in?
Sir, room 4, but I had to log in with my laptop because nobody else has a laptop and I was using my tablet.
Okay, so which room were you in?
Room 4. So can you add me back, please?
Yes, you can go back in room 4.
Oh, so you let him back carry on?
Yes.
He's about to.
I did. Carry on, you just need to join. I'm not seeing Kamalia. Are you in any room or anything? I'm not hearing much from you.
Sir, you couldn't give us 5 more minutes?
All right, guys, so are we ready now?
No, sir, we need 5 more minutes.
All right, go ahead for me. I'm going to pick on Renee. Richards, go ahead. Your group, go ahead first.
Sir, we're not ready. Sir, we're not
Sir,
ready.
can we have 5 more minutes?
Oh, sorry, I forgot that I put in the earphone. Yes, Renee, can you go ahead? Your group, go ahead first.
Sir, no, we're not ready, sir.
You didn't produce anything at all?
Yes, sir.
Sir, we're not ready because time run out.
So you guys need more time. All right, let me give you
Yes,
some
sir.
additional time. I should have asked before. Let's hope the breakout room.
Thank you, sir.
Open all, I think it's still, but room, okay, let me open back the rooms. I'll give you some additional time to complete it. All right, are you guys finished?
Sir, we're just gonna share what we have, okay?
No, it's okay. No, man. So what we'll do it. You'll finish it for homework, and then that's the first thing we do next week Monday. Okay? No, that's the first thing we do the following week, because you have exam on Monday.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we do it. So on Monday exam. So you share it next week Wednesday. Okay. Okay.
All right, sir.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody. I have a 7 o'clock class, so I
Sir,
need to prep for
thanks.
that as well.
All right, sir.
All right.